Cornelia Meyer is an energy expert and CEO of Meyer Resources. She joins us via Zoom from Bern. Thank you very much for being with us. So there is concern that Russia might permanently close the gas pipeline, affecting most of Europe. They've said at the moment that it's for maintenance, but the concern is that they would then continue to shut it after that. How likely is that scenario, do you think?
Well, I think all depends on how the back channel negotiations are going. Right now, there is just so much acrimony between the EU and between Russia that is a likely scenario. We hope against hope that somehow via back channels they get it to go, because it would be very, very grim, especially for countries like Austria and for countries like Germany, if Nord Stream 2 was not or Nord Stream 1 was not restarted.
And Canada has now sent back the component that Russia said it needed to restart it. What do you think of that development?
Well, I think it's right, because if you look at it, the sanctions do not apply to gas supplies. So that component is not, so to speak, under EU or NATO sanctions. And if it's there for maintenance, it's under Canada, or whoever did the maintenance in Canada is under a contractual obligation to send it back. So that was the right thing to do. But we will just have to see. It needs to shut down for about 10 days for maintenance. That is usual, that is planned, but we need to see whether it's coming up again. And if you look especially at Germany, there's so much of industry that depends on Russian gas. It's the glass smelters in Bavaria, the steel smelters, and that installed capacity has to be taken down, one may not be able to bring it up again, especially with glass ovens. That is a very, very tricky thing, to bring them down and start them up again. So if it cannot happen, it's not just how do you heat people, it's also how do you employ people.
And how far has Europe got in sourcing other forms of gas from elsewhere?
Well, they have gotten some ways, because if you look at Germany, it was 55% dependent on Russian gas. It's now 40% dependent. But, they need LNG, and Germany, until about, it will this winter not yet have an LNG import terminal, so it will need to get that through other import terminals in Rotterdam and Holland and other places. The other thing is that when you look at LNG, most of the LNG is already promised on 25-year contracts. So it's not that easy to come by with. When it comes to these sort of things, when it comes to oil and gas, it's never a light switch. It's always a long-term process. And whichever way this goes, what is happening now is going to be extremely, extremely costly to the consumers, to Europe. And if it cannot get sorted, it may even endanger social coherence. And that is what Germany's deputy chancellor and economic minister, Mr. Habeck, is really worried about.
Cornelia Meyer, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts on the subject.
Thank you very much indeed.